Hi everyone, this is Dango here from Lucky Valley server. In this video, we are going to talk about how to use and how to build Omega in Langrisser Mobile. So, before I start, I want to talk about who should actually build Omega. So, if you are, a big fan of Langrisser 5, you love Omega's muscle, you should definitely build him because it is never wrong to build the character that you love. But the other group of people I think should really build Omega is whales. So Omega is very strong at the early stage of Apex Arena Season 2. Strong to the point that Omega can basically one-shot everyone besides Landuse and Vegas because they have double life. But basically Omega can kill any others, so this is very strong. You just first ban Landuse and then your enemy will, if they don't ban your Omega first, they will don't know how to pick any characters. If they pick Juggler, you one shot. If they pick Boron, you one shot. It is very hard. Yeah, this is why Omega is super strong, like tier 0 at early stage. And I mean, if you're not big whale, but you still summon him at 5-star when you are trying to summon Yulia, which I don't. I mean, I wish everyone, including myself, a good luck to summon more Yulia than Omega. But terrible thing can happen, and you can end up with higher star Omega. Then you should still build him because he's just strong in early stage of Apex Arena. He is still useful in later stage. I mean, in later stage, he can no longer one-shot Juggler, he can no longer one-shot Burnheart, but then he can still be useful to kill mages like Ritual, or to kill some of the characters like Claret. Yeah, so he's still useful in later season. It's just not OP. And yeah, this is about who should actually build Omega. Then let's move to how to build Omega. So basically, Omega at level 1 know this Cold Blood skill. So this is the skill you will always build you will always carry. And the other skill that you will carry is going to be that passive skill. So this passive skill is basically why Omega can one-shot Juggler at early stage. So basically, if you have double skills, more than double skills compared to your enemy, then you can bypass the tank. If you have triple skills than your enemy, then you can not only bypass tank, but also bypass the troops, which is very insane. Think about who can bypass troop. Zareda can. But when Zareda bypass troop, she can only attack as herself. When Omega bypass troop, he can attack actually with troop. So basically, if he's carrying this bandit, then Omega and bandit can both attack you. So this is just why Omega is very strong. And this is definitely the skill you will 100% carry every time. And the other skill that you will carry is the other passive skill, and which is the first cost, one cost skill. And this skill is basically before entering the battle, attack is going to increase 12%. So you can see that Omega, yes, sometimes Omega just carry 4 cost in total. The other skill you can use is that skill, but this is only you carry that skill only in later season when Omega has no enough skill compared to enemy. This is just because after secondary enchant, everyone can enchant skills for Apex Arena. There is an Apex Arena specific enchant that only works for PvP. So basically, everyone can get 50 more skill, and if everyone get more skills, you will not have the same advantage as you have when you don't have enchant, right? Because this is basically a mathematical problem, right? At first, you have 3 times skills than your enemy. But if both you and your enemy increase by 50 skill, you will no longer have 3 times more skills than your enemy. This is what happens here, especially for Juggler. So Juggler cannot be one-shot, Burn cannot be one-shot, and a lot of the mage, you cannot ignore troop, but you can still ignore their tank. So after that stage, you will try to carry that skill, because with this additional skill provided, so this skill basically provides you additional skill before attacking. So per every spot you move before attacking, your skill increase by 10%, 20%, or 30%. So if you move 3 spots before attacking, your skill will be increased by 30%. So this could be a a skill that after you use that skill, maybe you can still use like you can still have like triple skills than your enemy, or you can have double skills than your enemy's mage or like other like characters like Elven, so you can still at least bypass tank. So basically this skill is what will be like useful in the later stage, where like all characters will get higher skill. So yeah, this is the skill that you will use in the later season. But at the early stage, when Omega himself has enough skill, I would say you just carry that passive skill and carry that passive skill that aid attack before attacking, and then you carry this cold blood skill. So yeah, so there is a slight difference between the early stage and late stage. For troop selection, Shinobi and this Dark Archer and Bandit are all possible choice for him. So it sometimes like depends on who you are fighting. If your enemy has like no immune to like fixed damage, then Shinobi can be a very good choice. And then I mean Shinobi is actually in most cases going to be the good choice if your enemy is not immune to fixed damage, because you are directly hitting the enemy, like ignoring enemy's troop, and then if you like failed with the normal attack, Shinobi can still deal a significant amount of damage. So that is usually the best choice if your enemy has no immune to fixed damage. And then Dark Archer in some specific maps, when you have a lot of like mountain area and walls, then Dark Archer can be very like good, very strong as well. Then like if you know that your enemy has like definitely a lot of like immune to fixed damage, and this is like a flat map, then the bandit can be used as well. So yeah, there is not much like fancy troops for Omega, and part of the reason why he's not very strong in season 3, like the skill that we discussed, in early in early season you will only carry like a full cost skill, and the later season when you need to use that skill, you will carry a 5 cost skill. But then after awakening, characters will get like 6 cost in total, and there is just no way Omega can survive without using that 1 cost skill. So unless he get a very good 3 cost skill, Omega is not going to be the OP character in season 3 of Apex Arena. So if you like do build Omega, keep in mind that he may not be super good in season 3. So now let's talk about the talent of Omega. So basically, Omega's talent has 2 parts. The first part is if you are attacking with enemy has like equivalence of more than 70% health points. This is like the health point for both the unit and his troop. And so if they have like 70% more health points, then you will gain additional attack and crit chance by 20%. So this is basically a skill to increase Omega's attack and crit chance. And then the second part is very interesting. So basically, after you after you attack your enemy, and kill your enemy. So basically, for example, you killed your enemy's juggler, and then he will actually teleport back to the position he initiated this attack. So for example, if I move 3 spots and then kill juggler, after I kill juggler, I will move back to the spot where before I move these 3 spots. So basically, move back to the very original position, and then you can move additional 3 spots if you are 6-star. If you are 3-star, you can only move 1 additional spot. But if you are 6-star, you can move additional 3 spots. So I can move additional, like I can move even like further move back to make sure, I'm out of the threatening range. So this is basically a very strong skill, right? This allows Omega to, kill enemy and then retreat back to the tank protection range. So, back to the safety area. So this is like a assassin who just, gets settled to try to, kill a target, and after the kill target, mission complete, and he can retreat successfully. So this is why Omega is very strong, and yeah, and then let's talk about how to build Omega. So we know that from the skill, Omega needs a ton of skill so that he can bypass the tank or bypass the troop. So in this case, if you think about anything that can increase scale, for the accessory that is going to be overload badge. So you definitely need overload badge for Omega. If you want to use Omega, you need to have overload badge. There is no other accessory that is good for Omega. And then we talk about at the early, like the difference between early stage and later stage. At early stage, you have enough skill. You can kill like enemy anyway. You can always ignore the troop. So in this case, the best weapon is going to be Ruler's Bow, and you are not using any like attacking skill. Basically, 2 passive skill plus Cold Blood. So in this case, Ruler's Bow is your best option to give you the maximum threatening range and maximum attack range. So Ruler's Bow is the best for Omega, and the armor is best. The best armor is going to be, I mean, that's right, of course. If a character can use Lazarite, it is likely his best armor. And then for the headgear, that is going to be King's Crown. So think about that. After I move up Omega and kill, then I can retreat and then move 3 additional spots, right? I can always position my Omega to like to the nearby like the other of like to nearby position of my allies. Then this King's Crown will come into play. This is basically why King's Crown is also the best headgear for Omega. So yeah, so this is basically how you use Omega in early stage. Later stage, when enemies get secondary enchantments, enchant from Apex Arena, enchant from Ancient Call, you feel like skill is very hard. Then you will start. You need to start using this 2 range skill, which basically increase the skill by depends on like how many spots you move before attacking, from like 10% to 30%. So by using that skill, you can still bypass tank or even bypass troop. So this is in this case very important. Then Ruler's Bow will not be useful because you will need to use that skill. That skill has a 2 range, so 3 range Ruler's Bow is not that useful. In this case, you will try to use EMB in that case, and if you really feel like oh man, even I can bypass, it is very hard for me to kill now, then you can use some other enchant like Meteor enchant instead of using Breeze enchant. For example, in this case, this is Roy, this streamer like Xiaoba Wang in Chinese server. His Omega is actually using EMB, and you can see clearly he is not using 2 passive skill here. Instead, he's using 1 passive skill, 1 Cloud Blood. This passive skill is still the very unique skill that Omega have. Double skill can ignore tank, triple skill can ignore troop. So, but in this case, he is carrying this single target skill that can aid additional skill before attacking. So this is really needed for higher level PvP in later season, because your enemy will have all the skill enchants, so you will not have triple skills than your enemy without using that skill. So I would say, I mean, later season Omega is definitely still useful. It's just a very situational, right? You will have some trouble, to try to bypass the tank or bypass the troop. So you will need some additional help from that skill, and maybe some additional, maybe you will try to maximize the damage also. So in later season, the build is going to be different from the early season. This is also why I suggest like Wales to build, but if you are free to play, never try to build him. And I mean, if you are low spender, I think maybe you can still use him like in early stage. And he is very strong in like in timeless trail, and also in some of the challenge battle he can be useful as well. So it is not a total waste to invest in Omega. But yeah, for me, I would say I would try to not build Omega. If I get terrible luck, maybe I will still build him. I mean, if I summoned like 6-star Omega and only like 3-star like Yulia, I would be mad. But I probably will need to build Omega. Hopefully not. Hopefully this is not happening. So that's all about how to use and how to build Omega. So yeah, I hope you find this video useful. And if you do enjoy the video, please hit the like button and subscribe my channel. I will have more of the how to build and how to use video in the future. Thanks guys, peace.